get some extra touches on the singles day. She's definitely not known as a singles player. Definitely enjoys the doubles events more, but I'll be interested to see how many balls Jessie actually runs for in this match, because she definitely knows her limitations, and she's not going to go and pull a hamstring out there in singles knowing that she has good partners for the doubles. We'll just put it that way, but she's trying. It's just she kind of knows her physical limitations and is going to be sure to preserve the body.
It's a great ball from Genie Bouchard. Genie was a part of one of the bigger trades in Major League Pickleball as well, was selected by the New Jersey Fives and then traded away to the Phoenix Flames in exchange for Megan Dazan. Nice volley for Genie. What did you make of that trade?
Yeah, she was not on Annalie's team for very long. So I'm not sure how that all worked out. I don't want to speak out of place because I don't have any inside information on that trade. But it sort of makes me think that there was some agreement between the Fives and it was, I think you said it was Phoenix that ended up trading Megan Dazan to the Fives. My gut is they probably worked that out before they ever took the players, and they knew that 3 days after they were going to make this trade.
And what's the value in a player like Genie Bouchard for the Phoenix Flames?
I think that she's just continuing to improve, so you don't really know where her ceiling is. Clearly, the singles ceiling is getting higher and higher, but even in the doubles event, she's definitely proving herself, and I think that, if I'm not wrong, there's a lefty on that team, or I could be all turned around because there have been so many different people on different teams, but I think she does play better with the lefty. I think she's a bit more comfortable on the left, so talking about mix specifically.
Well, Jack Sock is on the Phoenix Flames, not a lefty, but on the roster.
Yeah, there have been so many trades and releases and so forth. I need to get familiar with who's on what team, and I could be totally wrong about that.
5-0. Side out. 0-5.
Nice blistering volley from Genie Bouchard. Where has she improved the most in your eyes?
I think she has a much better idea of when she should play the ball soft versus when to rip it. So early on, like many tennis players, you don't really have a sense of when it can benefit you to slow the ball down. So in singles specifically, you have to know, hey, I'm off balance. I don't have to go for an off balance winner. I can just put the ball back somewhere in the kitchen relatively low, and I may have a better chance to rip a winner on the next one. So I feel like she has a much better sense of that, and knowing how wide the court is another part. So learning how to work angles into your game, whether it's very short or slightly short, I think she does that much better now.
5-0.
Nice coverage from Bouchard, world-class footwork and anticipation. It really didn't take Genie Bouchard that long. I mean, how many people could you put in her spot and say, go train for a year and see if you can compete with the best and actually do it? You know, obviously the athleticism is there, but it's not a long time to learn everything quickly.
Yeah, with high expectations coming in. Obviously, she was a Wimbledon finalist and an amazing tennis player, so that comes with expectations, and certainly depending on how willing to learn you are and how much humble pie you're willing to eat in the beginning. I know I did. It's definitely a process, but I think she's done well with it, and she's definitely showed patience and has showed that she can improve and hang in there with the best.
What was the most humbling part about your early beginnings after this point?
I think getting beaten by Simone Jardim in singles early on was pretty humbling for me as a former professional tennis player. I mean, I knew that I was the faster, better athlete, that's for sure, but it didn't really matter against Simone. She used to beat the snot out of me early on, but she helped me along the way and turned me into a good singles player. So I think that that definitely was humbling to say the least.
Defining moment. Jessie Irvine debating whether or not to challenge the call of Genie Bouchard. And she will. Great scramble again from Genie Bouchard, earns it right back.
I thought Jessie was going to get on the board with that one, but yes, great scramble there by Genie, and the paddle control to dump that to the opposite side of the court without missing it wide. Definitely impressive. And Jessie's on the board. Nice deep serve. I think Genie hit that just a bit. Jessie having a laugh with the crowd.
Well, Jessie Irvine's actually also on the Phoenix Flames, lead teammates with Genie Bouchard.
Oh, are they?
At least the original roster.
I did not realize that.
Hard to track everything to your point, but the original players drafted: Megan Dazan, Tyson McGuffin, Jack Sock, Jessie Irvine. Megan Dazan was traded away, and Genie Bouchard entered the roster. I believe the men are the same.
So I stand corrected. It is not a lefty guy on her team.
Pesa Tioni was on there as well as their alternate.
That's probably what I was thinking.
So you're not all the way wrong.
I'm not all the way wrong. He's probably not in their starting lineup, but there is a lefty that is on the Phoenix Flames, so I'll take what I can get. Jessie looking up there at the sun. It was probably tough to see visually as it went up there.
8-1.
Oh, Jessie showing off that that backhand dink that you see in doubles. Oh, it's a shame she didn't come out on top on that one, because it was just so reminiscent of how she looks on the doubles court with that smooth backhand dink that she almost never misses, using it in singles in this case, but not quite able to knock off the final volley.
Point number 2 for Bouchard.
10-1. Point, game, timeout, change it.
Bouchard will take it there. 11-1. Jessie Irvine, her skill set. And the Share Bears into the round of 16 as well.
Yeah, it always helps to have some sort of mentor, especially somebody who's a seasoned veteran on the singles court, to give you some advice and definitely make you think about the game a bit differently.
Well, and you provide that for certain players on tour as well. How do you select who will be your mentee and who's worth your time, maybe, than others who maybe might not be to this? Bouchard was there just a bit late, and Jessie Irvine cranking some ground strokes from the baseline.
Yeah, definitely something that I put a fair amount of thought into. I coach 2 professional players right now, Tina Pisnick and Etta Wright. So I actually spent the week in Sarasota staying with Tina, doing a training block with her, and then I worked out with Etta this morning. So definitely excited to see what 2025 brings for those 2, and they definitely work very, very hard. But as far as what I look for, certainly talent has something to do with it, but I'm looking more for the mindset of, are you willing to learn things? Can you adapt and adjust? And I can give you certain things to think about, but it's up to you to implement them. So I think that's something that Tina in particular in this past year has done a really good job with. And I've been working with her. It's going to be 2 years this summer.
Wow. Great scramble for Jessie Irvine. Full command.
Yeah, but I was really struck. Tina and I are playing mixed at the Texas Open coming up. Our first ever tournament together was Texas Open 2 years ago, and I was struck by how easily she was able to adapt very, very quickly. So you don't always see that, and I think that's really, it showed a lot in her success because she's always adding new things. She's thinking about the game in different ways, and I think that goes a long way. Even though she's not as young as some of these other girls that are out here, she makes up for it with her mental acumen and her work ethic.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I'm sure Jessie wants at least 1 point on the scoreboard again. She's going to be looking over at Genie. Hey, we're on the same team now. You got to at least give me 1 point again.
0-2. Side out. 2-0. Point.
Genie fighting uphill here on the worst side, but not affecting her too much so far.
Side out. Zero three.
And Jessie's on the board in game 2 here. Nice strong drive cross. Genie overhitting the volley.
1-3.
A little light from the crowd, too, for Jessie.
Side out.
Looks like that ball just stayed down on Jessie more than she was expecting. I don't know if it was the wind or a tough hop, but not hitting that one cleanly.
3-1. Point.
So, Michelle, I think you were on the call for Championship Sunday in this last tournament. We were talking about that a little bit. What were you struck by? You were on the mic for probably all of 8 hours. That was a long work day for you, but what were some of the things that you noticed? You've been around the sport for quite a long time now at this point, and you've seen many a Championship Sunday. Was there anything that jumped out to you in terms of maybe the crowd involvement or with the play?
Yeah, great question. I'll answer after this.
It's a great on-the-run drop there from Jessie. You can
Nice.
see that Jessie's a seasoned veteran of the game, because even though she doesn't play a lot of singles, she knows how to use the kitchen and using that really good drop that she uses to such good effect in doubles.
Didn't pay off there, though. Bouchard takes a point, but nice.
Side out.
Pays off there on the ball. But to answer your question from earlier, I was most struck by, I think, the crowd involvement and the commitment of fans to stay there for the full session. I mean, not a seat available in the house, but then also just the
1-6.
level, the parity at this point. You can speak to that. You play against these people on a regular
Point.
basis, but the level is being pushed at the highest. And it used to be where it was, you knew who was going to win every single weekend, and now I think that's, you know, starting to
2-6.
fluctuate a little bit towards the top, which is exciting, I think, for the whole sport.
Point.
Yeah, definitely exciting, and seeing a bunch of new faces, and maybe you've seen them play over the
3-6.
past 2 or 3 years, but they've improved their game to a level to where they're getting to Championship Sunday and winning. So I think that makes it all the more
Side out.
interesting for fans that maybe want to see something different and also see the longtime favorites evolve their games.
6-3. Point.
Serve from Genie, and that's what's fun for me too, is you see some of the originals of the sport blending with the newer talent, and how that kind of comes together, and what you were talking about earlier with the Tina Pisniks of the world and how
7-3.
they get into the mix, not on Sunday necessarily Mesa, but just I like how it all comes together. Ooh, nice.
It's a great on the run drop. Couldn't quite get to the
Point.
next one. But yeah, we have what we call the OG group that have been around since 2018 or so. That's usually where we kind of pin or draw a line in the sand for the OGs. Speaking of that, I was able to play some games this past week with
8-3.
Marcin Respetsky. So you have to be a real pickleball fanatic to know who that is. But he was
Point.
once the #1 ranked singles player on the male side. This was before Ben and Tyson got involved, so he was one of the very OGs. And he coaches his son in tennis and moved to Florida.
9-3.
Hasn't really played much, had a couple knee surgeries, but it was great to get Marcin back on the court and hoping to see him in some senior pro events because he's actually eligible for seniors starting this year.
Heck yeah.
Point.
Another great point construction from Genie Bouchard to earn match point.
Match point.
But it was kind of funny because he's been away from the game. He was able to kind of weigh in on the new
10-3.
paddle tech and how the game's evolved. And he's like, it's just so funny to me to see how the game is played these days compared to when I was at the top of the game.
Point.
Bouchard
Game.
takes it
Match.
there with a rolling volley to the corner, 11-1, 11-3. And she is